Okay, so I'm not recording this video at my setup like I usually do, but I just wanted to talk about this because I found it very interesting, um, but also so simple. Like, it's so obvious when you say it, but nobody really thinks about it, nobody really mentions it ever. You have to fail to succeed. And you're gonna be like, oh yeah, okay, yeah, whatever, and then scroll down and then click off and then like go into another video. Just hear me out for a second, okay? You really, really, really have to fail. Like, bad. So that if you want to succeed. I don't mean like fail trying, yeah, that works as well, but like, you need to, like, be in a really bad state in life to get to a really good one. And you're gonna be like, well, look, just hear me out. I dare you to search up, like, basically any really successful person, right? Chances are they all started in poverty. They all have this, like, all these successful people, they seem to have these motivational stories. They're like, oh, back when I was a kid, all of my arms got chopped off, and I was born in the middle of a war, and then my parents died, and I was broke. I was $1 million in debt, and I worked for 25 hours a day, and look where I'm at now, right? Like, you're used to this. Every rich guy has a story where he's like, oh, I used to be blah, 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 and then I worked this unrealistic amount, and now look where I am, and I'm successful. And everyone's like, oh, yeah, cool story. Fuck off, it's a lie, right? But getting past that, it's true, right? These stories are true. And you think about, okay, yeah, they have this inspirational story, so what? But why do they all have an inspirational story, right? It's like, yeah, okay, you can find me like a single person who like doesn't have an insane story of, like where they were in this really bad position and then rose to power. Like, I bet you could find one person who just had it great their whole life. Okay, sure. But the big majority of all really, really, really successful people, they're all there because they were in the exact opposite position. And am I saying that you have to experience, like, right now, if your life is good and you've never been in, like, a really bad, bad, bad position in life, am I telling you you should go out there right now and just ruin your life and get into a terrible depressed state so that you can become more successful? Honestly, I don't know. I haven't thought about that scenario, but possibly. Maybe not, if you know how to handle your current situation correctly in a way that you will be able to find that success. But also, possibly, you might want to do that. And I'll explain why this phenomenon is. I'm giving you examples and telling you, oh, look at all the rich guys. They all had a terrible event in their life. Yeah, so what? Okay, so what? Why? Why does this matter? Okay. So the thing is, when you're already successful, why should you want to work hard? Imagine, for example, that you want to have great food, okay? But to have better food, you have to, go to a cooking school, learn how to cook, master cooking yourself, and then you can make yourself your own food, and it will be the best food in the world. Great? Amazing. But now imagine that in your current state, your mom makes you food, and your mom is a pretty decent cook. Like, it's nothing amazing, sure, but it's pretty average, and it's quite edible. It's pretty nice, right? Like, nobody's gonna go through the work of, becoming a chef and going through all that chef training to make themselves good food if they already have decent food. They're like, yeah, okay, so what? Like, why the fuck should I want that? That's so stupid. But then imagine another person who also has a mom who makes them food, but that food is so shit that they've gone for many days without, there have been many days where they haven't eaten any food because of how shit the food is. And there's nothing they can do to change it. And whenever they ask their mom to change the food, that's so horrendous, they'll literally go for some days where they just don't eat at all. And they ask their mom, like, can you make good food? And she's like, no, learn how to do it yourself, or else you keep eating this. That guy, or girl, whatever, is going to go through that chef training to make themselves the greatest food in the world. And in the end, what's happened is the person who started with better food ended up with the worst food. Why? Because they didn't need to get better food. And they got complacent. They were happy, right? They had no driving motivation, no reason to improve. And that's what happens in life, right? When you're in a generally average place in life, even if your life's kind of shit, if it's acceptable, if you can say, yeah, well, I can just keep going on like this tomorrow. Yeah, I'll do it tomorrow. Yeah, well, my life isn't that great and I'm kind of depressed, but, like, like barely paying the rent for this shitty apartment I have, and I can sustain this for like another 6 months. I'll decide it after then, right? Even if that person's life is terrible, they're likely to not do much because, they're fine, right? Realistically, they're fine. They can, even though their life is not great, they can maintain this lifestyle. They really don't have to do much about it. It's not going to be a great life, but, you'll be fine. Now imagine another person, and they were in university and they were having the absolute time of their life. They were loving it. And then they graduated out of university. And now they can't find a job. And they are literally tens of thousands of dollars in debt due to the student loans that they got without thinking at the start of their university journey. And now they've got all this debt. They keep applying to a job, but they can't find any. They're addicted to weed. They have no friends. They broke up with their girlfriend or, whatever. And life is terrible. And they can barely get enough food to eat. That person, in the case that they don't, commit suicide, because that's what some people will do in that scenario, realistically speaking, either that, right, or they will realize, I can't sustain this. I have to go up, right? I have to go up. And they will, go to the most insane lengths, right? You hear these, people talking about, oh, I, worked for 20 hours a day. I skipped sleeping for 3 days in a row just to get more work. And I worked and worked. And then I skipped meals just to work more, right? You see all these rich people doing these inspirational stories like that. And you're like, what the heck? But you realize that when you're in a scenario where you have to work or it's death, it's like, imagine one person on a mountain, right? They can climb, but they don't have to. They're just on one part of the mountain where they can stand. Okay, they can stand there. Why should they climb? Now imagine the next person, and there's lava beneath them, constantly rising. And if they don't keep climbing, they're gonna get consumed by the lava. So they're gonna climb their ass off, right? And the person that's getting chased by the lava at the bottom is gonna go far, far, far above that person who doesn't need to climb, because why should they climb? The thing is, when you're at a state of a total rock bottom, a state so bad that you cannot sustain, right? This rock bottom, it's a state unique in the sense that you cannot stay here, right? If you stay there, right? If you try to stay there, Like, it's so bad if you try to maintain the current lifestyle you have, you will probably go into, I have so little money, I'm starving mode, and, like, possibly die, right? Because you're, like, at maximum bottom, okay? This is an exaggeration, but, like, imagine maximum bottom. Where it's like, if you maintain this lifestyle, if you try to maintain, you will go down, 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 down. You can't maintain. So, either you go down or you go up. There is no maintaining. In the middle, right, if you're in the middle, you're like average income, average physique, whatever, you can maintain. You can keep doing what you are doing now, and you will remain average. But when you're at rock bottom, if you keep doing what you're doing, you will sink, plummet indefinitely, and that's not an option either, right? You physically cannot maintain, and you can plummet, but you don't want to plummet. So it gives you the only option of clawing and fighting back up with everything you've got, nothing to lose, and everything to gain, and every reason to want to gain. And someone whose life depends on doing well in a job will far exceed someone who just wants to do well in a job so that they can continue to get some amount of money that they don't really need because they already have some money, right? Like, it doesn't matter how skilled you are, right? You're a writer. You enjoy writing. You've written like 2 books. You're pretty experienced, right? And, you've got money. And you get assigned this new project. You got to write a book, right? And you start writing. Clickety-clacking, typing away at your keyboard. And then we take person 2. They're not as smart as you. They've written no books in their life. But they like writing. And also they have hit rock bottom. They're incredibly depressed. They are incredibly broke, in an unimaginable amount of debt, and they have nothing to lose. And they are told, if you write this book, you will make profit and it will turn your life around, and you will be saved from the pits of hell that you have fallen into. I don't care how good of a writer you are. You'll start writing your book. You'll be like, oh, look, I worked on my book for 5 hours this day. I was so incredibly productive. And you'll go brag to your friends about how productive you were today. And then a week later, you'll wake up to see that your opponent has been writing 20 hours a day like their life depends on it, because it does. And they've already finished the book. And you're like, how? I'm on chapter 1 and I've been so productive. Well, that's the thing. That's the thing with failure, because failure drives you to chase success in a way where being good enough is dangerous. That range of good enough is the worst place you can possibly be. Being at the top is wonderful, right? Being at the bottom, it sucks, but it means you will get to the top because you have no option. You will climb, right? Unless you totally give up on, life. But if you don't, you have to climb up. You have no other option. The worst place to be is in that just good enough zone, that just good enough area where your life stinks, it sucks. But also, you can not change anything and you'll be fine. It's good enough, right? It's not good. It's really not good, but it's good enough. And the instant you say it's good enough, you're screwed. You will not make progress, ever, again, unless you change that mindset. There's this YouTuber called Hamza. Maybe you've heard of him. He has millions of subscribers, and he's one of the most popular self-improvement YouTubers out there. He has this video, I think it's the one on this 4-hour video on how to make money. And he specifically says, my first job that I got, I don't know if it was his first job, but the job that he got after, like, university, it was terrible. He had, like, a 40-minute commute there and back every day, and he had to get up at, like, 5 a.m. in the morning to, like, even get to that, like, 40-minute commute, and he, like, smoked weed every day, and the job was so incredibly shit in every aspect, and he got, like, no pay for it, and it was so bad. Like, it was the longest commute, it caused him sleep deprivation, and it paid nothing, right? And he said in that video something along the lines of, I'm grateful for how bad it was, because he said specifically, if it was any better, if it was just a bit better, I might have not been here today. He says that because he understands this concept that I'm talking about that now. He says, if it was just a little bit better, if this job I went to was just the slightest smidget better, I would not be here today. I would not be successful as I am today. I wouldn't be here talking to you. I wouldn't have started this YouTube channel because it would have been good enough. It would have been terrible. Terrible. You get like barely enough money. You still have a long commute, but it would have been good enough. And that's the most dangerous thing. It wasn't the terrible job that was the most dangerous thing, because you know what that did? It forced him to go down the route of entrepreneurship and YouTube. And look at him now. He's huge. He's like the face of self-improvement at this point. Why? Because he started the terrible job. And he said, in his own words, if that job was just better, just good enough, none of this would have ever happened. Because he would have been satisfied with that. Not fully satisfied, no. His mental health would have been shit. He would have been broke, but it would have been good enough. And then complacency would have set in with procrastination. And, you know, when you're at that level of lack of discipline and terrible mental health, it's like, if you don't need to do the hard work that it requires the really hard work, admittedly, that it requires to become successful, you're not going to do it. Because your brain always takes the easy path. That's how it's wired. And the easy path is, if you can, maintain. That's why the terrible job is good, because it removes the maintain path. So it says, fuck you, you have to do the hard work. Anyway. Just some food for thought, I guess. And this video isn't scripted or, you know, recorded well with my whole, like, microphone and whatever, like, my videos normally are. And by normally, I mean, like, the 2 videos I've uploaded so far on this channel. But yeah, it was just, like, more of a rant on a topic that was on my mind that I want to get out. So, yeah. Thanks for watching. I hope this helps. And if I did even a decent job of explaining this, then please consider subscribing and sharing this with a friend, because then I'll know that somebody actually watched this video and found it useful, which I haven't seen in my videos so far. Which they are useful. You should watch them if any of the topics interest you. I think they're really useful, but, you know, nobody will watch them. And yeah, thanks for watching. See you later.